Hello guys, welcome back to another video. We are back working on the BMW 130i with the N52 engine, of course, and we are going to be swapping out the water pump and the thermostat today. Now, I still am suffering from a coolant leak. I'm pretty sure it must be coming from the water pump or thermostat at this point. Now, I know at some point in the past the water pump has been replaced. I'm sure it was about 9 or 10 years ago. So it probably is due another replacement. Now, when it comes to replacement parts, you only want to install Pierberg water pumps. Guys, honestly, do not get a cheap Chinese water pump. It will not last at all. And when it comes to the thermostat, make sure you use a genuine Marley or Bear thermostat. Again, you know, this isn't something you want to be doing twice. I know they are pretty pricey for what they are, but honestly, spend the money and know that the parts are going to last. Now then, without further ado, let's get outside and let's get cracking. Okay then, so as you can see, the BMW 130i is now up in the air. Just have it secured on some ramps, and what we want to do first is remove the front main under tray. This thing just here is just held in by a bunch of 8mm screws, so we'll go ahead and remove them first. Okay then, so that is that under tray now removed, along with the many screws that hold it in place. And now we should have pretty good access underneath to see the water pump itself, which is that thing just there. So this is the water pump, and the thermostat is bolted directly onto it. It's just this thing here. Now, there are a couple of things that are kind of restricting the access to remove the water pump from the car. As you can see, there's no chance you're going to get the water pump through that small gap there. So what we need to do is remove the anti-roll bar itself, just unbolt it from the drop links or sway bar links just here, and then just unbolt the bushes themselves as well. It's just those two nuts on either side, then this entire sway bar should drop down. Also just going to unscrew these small under tray brackets as well, get them out of the way, and then I may or may not unbolt this power steering line here, just held in by a little nut there. Okay, so the sway bar links are held in by a 16mm nut. You need to stop the ball joint from spinning, so I have a 17mm wrench on here, while I just wind the nut off. Okay, that's the nut removed. That's the sway bar link removed from the sway bar. And these are quite floppy, so could probably do with replacing these soon. That's this side done anyway. As you can see, I've removed the nut from the other sway bar link as well. Just going to remove these two brackets out of the way, just held in by a 10mm bolt. And now I can unbolt the sway bar itself. So it's just held in by the two 13mm nuts. And it should now pull down. There we are. That's the sway bar removed. Okay then, so what I've done is removed this 10mm nut here from the top of this fitting. It's a bit of a strange fitting really. It's kind of like a rubber bush, and there's a nut on either side. I've just removed the top side so that can swing out of the way, and I think I have enough access to get the water pump out now. Now, before I go any further, before I start disconnecting any of the hoses, I am going to drain the coolant. So I've just removed this front cover here, and now I can access the radiator drain plug. Just need to release that. The coolant should drain, and then once it's drained, we should then be able to start removing some of these pipes. We have drippage. Remove it all the way. There we are. Now if we remove the cap on the expansion tank, That should drain a bit easier. Okay, so the coolant has finished draining from the radiator. Put the plug back in. I'm now going to start disconnecting some of these hoses. Okay, so there may be some water drain out of here, so I need to get ready to catch it. Yeah, I can see water dripping coming out of the water pump. Yeah, that's why you need your bucket ready. Yeah, it helps if you get it directly in your face as well, the coolant. I find that really does help. Okay, that is our first pipe removed, this U-bend one. Make sure you still have the Jubilee clamps, don't drop them. Put this to one side. Okay, so I have released the clamp for this hose here, which is the other pipe that goes onto the water pump, but it actually goes onto this hard pipe here, which goes up into the engine block. So you can't actually pry this off because there's no give in it. Essentially, you need to unbolt the water pump first. So what I've done is removed a couple of hoses, a couple of pipes from the thermostat. So this one here, just a kind of like a push clip. You just need to pry that up and that just comes off. Very typical BMW hose. Again, same with this one as well. I've also disconnected the electrical connectors. There is one for the water pump, this one here, and there is one for the thermostat, this one here. And now what I think I'm going to do is unbolt the thermostat. It's just held in by these two 10mm bolts, because there is a bolt for the water pump behind the thermostat. So I'm thinking if I can remove these two bolts here, move the thermostat out of the way, then I should be able to access the third bolt. Obviously there is two bolts here, but there's a third one behind the thermostat. Here, these should not be tight. That. You've got to just wind these out now. There's one removed. And there is two removed. And now will the thermostat push over? Yeah, it will. Thermostat's pretty much free. So I should be able to get on the third bolt for the water pump. Thermostat that can actually be pushed right out the way. Okay, so managed to get on the bolt. Just used a regular ratchet to crack it loose, and then once it's cracked loose you can just do it by hand. Then should be coming out. There we are. It's a very long bolt. That is it removed, and now it should be just a case of removing these two bolts here. The water pump should now be free by the hose that it's stuck on, but I should be able to pry that off there now. Wow, okay. That was silly. I didn't even remove the right bolt, so I removed the bolt for the power steering pump. So the water pump bolt is still in. That's fun. Okay, so finally managed to get the bolt removed, and the water pump should come through. Yep. There we are. So that's the original water pump now removed. We have so much space now for activities, but before we proceed any further, I think I should probably reinstall the bolt for the power steering pump. That'll do. Just hand tight. Okay, so I believe there's just one more hose holding the thermostat in place. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I don't think this thermostat has ever been replaced. I think they just replaced the water pump, because this hose is pretty stuck on here. I don't think it's ever came off. That wasn't fun. It's had coolant drip all down my chin. Don't drink coolant, kids. So, managed to get the last remaining hose removed, and here is the thermostat now removed. Do we have a date on this? Well, it's definitely original BMW. Can't see we have a date on this. No idea, but I would say that this is more than likely the original thermostat. So this is best part 16 years old. Okay then, so with the original water pump and thermostat removed, let's just compare them to the new. So as you can see, the water pump is exactly the same. The thermostat, however, the original looks like aluminium, and the new updated version is in fact plastic. I'm not too sure why they've switched to a plastic. Maybe it's less transfer of heat or something like that. I've no idea, but yeah, the new updated part is in fact plastic, and we do have some new aluminium bolts to secure the water pump to the car, so I'm going to go ahead and use these new ones. But yeah, let's get the new parts installed onto the car. I'm going to first install the thermostat, attach it to the pipes, and then I will slide the water pump in place and then get it bolted up. Finally. Okay then, so as you can see, the water pump is in position, and you probably just saw me struggle to torque down the top bolt, the most difficult bolt to get to. And yes, that is now torqued down. I'm going to kind of leave these two for the time being. They're obviously very easy to get to, but yeah, like I said, water pump is in position. Now, before I put the water pump into position, I made sure that I got the thermostat in, and as you can see, that is attached by that hose there. Just kind of tucked it up there out of the way so I could get the water pump in position. What I'm going to do next is attach all of the hoses to the thermostat, and then I can bolt the thermostat to the water pump, and then there's just the final one hose to go from the water pump to the thermostat then. Okay then, so as you can see, the thermostat is in its correct position. That just needs to be secured down by the two 10mm bolts. I've attached all of the hoses back onto the thermostat. All that's left is the one that goes from the thermostat to the water pump, this U-bend one here. Now, I'd recommend not bolting the thermostat or the water pump fully down until you get this installed, because it is quite tight. So yeah, I haven't even plugged the electrical connectors back in yet. Still have some movement in the thermostat, and I should still have a little bit of movement in the water pump as well. So yeah, let's get this installed then, and then we can bolt them both down. Okay then, so the final hose is in position. Wasn't too difficult actually. The fact that I had the extra wiggle room to move the thermostat over slightly just made it a bit easier to slide it into place. Main thing is obviously make sure your clamps are facing downwards, just so it's easier to tighten them up, and easier to remove them if you need to do so in the future. But yeah, all that's left to do now is plug the thermostat back in, plug the water pump back in, and then bolt them both down. Okay, so there's all three water pump bolts now installed and torqued down. That's the two thermostat bolts installed and torqued down. Now we can just reinstall the electrical connectors. Yep, that's in. Yep, that's in. Okay, now before we begin to add everything back, like the sway bar, the under trays and all the rest of it, I'm just going to add some water to the cooling system and then get this thing fired up, just to make sure we don't have any leaks, because if we have some leaks, then we're only going to have to remove everything all over again. So yeah, let's add some water and let's get this thing fired up. Now you're probably wondering, why am I just adding water? Shouldn't I be adding coolant? And yes, if you just want to, you know, get yourself topped up and back on the road again, yes, you should add your correct coolant slash water mix. But I'm going to be draining this again because I'm going to be doing a complete coolant system flush. So whatever we're putting in here now is only going to be drained out again. Now if you do just want to top up your coolant, make sure that you are using the correct coolant. It should be the blue stuff. I use this Febby Bilstein stuff. I will leave a link down in the description box below. So if you want to check this out, it is the exact same as the genuine BMW coolant. This is the correct stuff. And you're going to want to mix that with some deionized water as well. But like I said, for us today we are just filling up with regular tap water because we're only going to be draining this soon after anyway. So that is us at the maximum level. Now I'm not too concerned with bleeding the system at this point. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a full flush, so I'm just going to put the cap back on. Now let's get this fired up. Looking good, no leaks. Yep, it's confirmed, no leaks. This thing is running perfect. Okay then, so if we take a look, you can see the sway bar or anti-roll bar, whatever you want to call it, that is now back in place, all bolted back up. I haven't went ahead and reinstalled the main under tray yet. Like I said, I still have to do a complete coolant flush, and I'll more than likely do that in a separate video. I'll go through the whole step-by-step process on how to do that, but for now this is us, job done. Okay then guys, so there we go. That is the water pump and thermostat replaced on my N52 powered BMW 130i, and to be honest, like, it really wasn't as bad of a job as I thought it was going to be. You know, yes, it was fiddly at times, yes, it was frustrating at times, and you know, you really could do with having the hands of a 5-year-old child, but yeah, it really wasn't that complex of a job. It was just a case of, you know, removing all of the hoses off of the water pump and the thermostat and then just unbolting them. I know that sounds very easy, and obviously it's not quite that easy, but you know, once you can gain access to the water pump and the thermostat, you know, if you move enough things out of the way, you can pretty much remove them without too many issues. So yeah, you know, this is one of those jobs that you can definitely do in a day. You can definitely do on your own. One thing I would say is, if you are planning to do it, you know, on jack stands, you are planning to do it on the driveway, try and get your car as high up as possible. The ramps that I have, they're decent, they're not too bad, but ideally I could have done with having the car slightly higher, just so I can maybe turn around, because at times I was sort of trying to reach to an area that my body wouldn't allow me to. But you know, we got the job done in the end. I would say allow, say, 2 to 3 hours in total to get the job done, and then obviously if you want to do a coolant flush, an extra half an hour to an hour to do that as well. But yeah, it's really not that difficult of a job. Don't be put off by it. Like I said, if you can gain access to the water pump and thermostat, you should be able to remove them and install the new ones. Yeah, that's another job done then on the BMW 130i. We really are getting there now. That's pretty much as far as I want to go in terms of the engine for now. You know, we've pretty much corrected all of the common issues with the N52 now. So yeah, I guess I'll be focusing on other areas of the car going forward. But yeah, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Hopefully it has been somewhat helpful. Please remember to give it a like, leave a comment down below, subscribe if you have not already done so, and I will see you all in that next one. Peace!